Malka Leifer has finally been held accountable.
Her abuse has held us hostage for so many years.
In August last year, paedophile headmistress Malka Leifer was finally brought to justice. Jailed for 15 years for sexually abusing sisters Dassi and Erlich at their ultra-Orthodox Jewish school in Melbourne. It was a fight that spanned decades and even continents, Leifer fleeing to Israel before being extradited back to Australia after an excruciating diplomatic and legal battle.
Today really marks the end of this chapter of our lives and opens the chapter to us healing.
It's been 5 months since Leifer was punished for what she did to you. How's life been since then?
It's been really, really nice to not have that big black cloud hanging over me. And sometimes I look back at that time and think, how on earth did we keep going?
What gave you the strength to keep going?
It was the idea that an abuser can be enabled to flee a country and potentially hurt other people. And for that just to be allowed to happen, it just seemed so, so wrong.
Do you think survivors are treated differently when their abuser is female?
I think sometimes it's harder for people to understand that abuse is abuse, and no matter who the perpetrator is, it's the betrayal. Then I've got these comments, well, it's just a woman, what could have happened? How bad could have it been?
But there is so much more to the sisters' story than the fight to bring their abuser to justice. Leifer wasn't the first grown-up to seriously betray young Dassi.
I don't remember ever not being scared as a child. My mother was very physically abusive, but I think it was the emotional and mental abuse that has had a lot more of an impact, that I was unlovable, that I didn't deserve to live, that I wasn't a worthwhile person. She had cruel punishments that she used to starve us, to hurt us.
Raised in what's been described as Australia's most secretive Jewish sect, the Dassi community in suburban Melbourne, that abuse was allowed to fester.
We had no internet or TVs or even magazines. The community was run by men, and a woman's job was to have children and support your husband and in his endeavours.
Dassi's was an arranged marriage at the age of 19.
I met my husband on a Sunday, I believe, the first time, and by the end of that week, we were engaged.
Wow.
Yeah. He was the first man that I was speaking to, besides for my father. I had no understanding what sex was until a few weeks before I got married and was told this is what sex is.
Did you see marriage, in a way, as a ticket to freedom, as an escape from your abusive home life?
Oh, absolutely. I knew that marriage was the only way I was going to leave home.
And was it? Was it the ticket to freedom that you hoped it would be?
Unfortunately not. We had very different ways of seeing the world, very different values, and I was carrying into that marriage a lot of trauma that wasn't understood.
Dassi says she had to abide by the religious group's strict conservative rules. When her marriage started to fall apart, her husband devised his own guidelines.
It was a long list. I think it ran to 64 different rules. And it was his attempt to show me that the only way the marriage would work would if I would abide by those rules. And I just was so desperate to be my own person.
How did your life change when you had your daughter Lily?
I absolutely fell in love with my daughter, and it was the first time that I had experienced love. I think she was a big part in me surviving.
So too was the decision to leave her husband and the sect. How hard is it to leave a community like that?
I didn't understand at the time how incredibly naive and vulnerable I was. There were situations I almost lost my life just because I didn't understand how the world worked.
So what is your relationship with religion like now?
I don't have a relationship with religion. I have a relationship with spirituality, which I see as something completely separated from religion.
How do you feel about the ultra-Orthodox community that you grew up in?
I feel that there's a lot of change that needs to happen because of the way the community exists and is. There's such a fertile ground for abuse to thrive.
Dassi, you spent such a long time hidden from the world and hiding from yourself. When you look in the mirror now, what do you see?
I see someone that's not hiding anymore, and there's no need to hide anymore.
How does it feel to finally be seen and heard?
It feels incredibly validating, especially to the younger parts of myself that lived through that and thought that no one would ever see, hear or believe me.
How do you want the next chapter of your life to play out?
Enjoying time with my family and my daughter, having a future and having a future to kind of discover what it is that I like and what it is that I want. It's very exciting.
Wow.
She's such an extraordinary woman. She's left the Dassi community. She put herself through nursing. She's travelled the world. Now she's really relishing her freedom. She got a tattoo. She went skydiving.
She's got
all
a
the
sister
things.
still, and they're intact.
Their family
How lucky.
is what helped save her as well. They're very, very close. She's written her memoir. It's called In Bad Faith. It does come out tomorrow. Grab it if you can. It's a brilliant read. And if this story has raised any issues for you, you can always contact 1-800-RESPECT on 1-800-737-732 or Lifeline on 13 11 14.